What's going on with all of my truth seekers, to all the non-believers, the overachievers, the tweeter and deleters? This is also for you because yours truly, Clifton Pope, along with my friend, the lovely Kim Avalos. We are back with episode 8 of the Organic Combat Podcast, where we're going to continue to challenge you to do your research and fact check everything more so than ever as things are winding down towards the end of 2024 and we're about to go into 2025. Oh, it's going to be a time to be alive because there's so much going on within itself. But before we dive into everything that we're going to talk about, we encourage you to, of course, hit that follow, hit that subscribe button for the Organic Combat Podcast. We are on Spotify Podcast. Leave a review as well, because we want to hear from you, the people. Kim and I, we do this for you, the people. That way we can give you something to talk about. You know, nothing wrong with having open-minded dialogue at the end of the day. But with everything that's been going on since the last time we met and the last time we recorded, I mean, first and foremost, I have to say this. I want to, thoughts and condolences and prayers to everybody who is recovering from not only Hurricane Helene, but also Hurricane Milton. The fact that Florida literally got hit with back-to-back hurricanes. Like, what in the hurricane is going on? Like, that's something within itself. I mean, some would say
things
it was
that make you go,
Yeah, there's a lot that makes you go, I mean, was it weather modification? Was it cloud seeding? Was it HARP that was involved? I mean, there's so much that happened with just that within itself. Like, the fallout is crazy. I mean, you got FEMA trying to stick their nose into it, trying to provide quote unquote aid and resources and services to try to help them out. But in all actuality, they're doing the complete opposite. I mean,
cutting off people that are actually trying to come in privately and give resources, but FEMA's saying, no, you're in the way, even though they don't have enough resources to give out.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like we have enough money to send to other countries to help out, but we can't even take care of ourselves. I mean,
preach.
What about $750, I think, or something like that? They don't even have enough.
$750 loan.
Like a loan that you're eventually.
And they have no Wi-Fi. They have no power, but they had to apply online, and God just be with those people and those families. And we are just so thankful, and praise the Lord for the nonprofits and all of the people, all of the American citizens of privately owned choppers and everybody that went out there to go and, organize fundraisers and organize supplies. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, because everything that's going on with just the aftermath of that, and it just didn't affect Florida. It affected the whole entire East Coast. I mean, you're talking the Carolinas, a little bit of Georgia. I mean, we can go
parts of Tennessee.
Yeah, parts of Tennessee. It's like, this was like, when I saw this, it's like you might as well have just combined Hurricane Helene and Milton into one and make it some superstorm. By the way, it just happened simultaneously. I'm still like,
what are the odds? What is the probability of that happening naturally, right? Like, it's mind-blowing. I don't know.
I have my questions about it. Either global warming and climate change is a real thing, or there's a lot of manipulation in the weather going on. Either way, we're leaving it up to you, the people, to decide that for yourself. We're just throwing out our theories behind it. Me personally, and I'm sure Kim could second me on this, I personally feel like there's a lot of weather manipulation going on, to the point to where, good old HARP is getting involved. For what particular reason, we don't know. I mean, what did Florida do to deserve it? Like, it's gotten so bad to where it's affected even like sporting events. That's how you know the hurricane aftermath is serious. Like, one of the hurricanes, it literally ripped the roof off of one of the baseball stadiums where the Tampa Bay Devil Rays play and stuff. That's how you know it's bad, and they don't even know how they're going to fix that.
Well, that actually leads an opening for us to walk right into it with the weather modification patents since the early 1900s. So it's not even, I would say your feelings are correct, because there are actual patents for these technologies, and HARP is a real thing. Like we know that that's a real thing.
A lot of people think that it's just make believe. Like, no,
there are actual websites and government papers signing off on all of these things. There's actually been whistleblowers that have come forth in the United States Air Force. There was a whistleblower that came out and said that she was signing off on these chemicals that are being sprayed, the aerosols being sprayed out into our skies. She didn't know what they were. They were just, just a stack of papers on her desk. She finally starts going through it, reading through it, seeing that these are like aluminum and other toxic chemicals at very high levels being sprayed, and just this aerosol layer in our skies, which obviously crystallizes and it turns into clouds, and it rains down on our crops, it rains down on our vehicles, our animals, us, which is why it stinks, because like I used to like to play in the rain. As a kid, me and my brother, we loved playing in the rain. Will I let my daughter play in the rain now? Oh, I mean, I'll give her an umbrella. She's got her rain boots. She can play outside so long as she's got her stuff. But like, as far as getting soaking wet and just soaking up all that chemical rain, it
might as well just be acid rain, and it might as well just be burning our skin and eating our overall flesh, which is actually an interesting segue, because this morning, it was this morning, I literally saw this report on CBS News. Apparently, according to the aftermath of Hurricane Helene and Milton, there's now flesh-eating bacteria.
Oh, it got into the clouds. That's horrible.
Like this is an actual news story on CBS News that I'm looking at right here, saying Florida health officials are reporting an increase in cases
Vibrio.
In Vibrio vonificus. I've never even heard of that. That's new to me.
I've heard of that. And actually, unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we've actually had a case of that in Galveston and even down here in Padre Island. So for all you beach goers, be careful. There's flesh-eating bacteria. But yes, Vibrio.
It's a bacteria that can lead to flesh-eating infections following recent hurricanes.
That's the worst.
In an update Friday, data from the Florida Department of Health shows several counties are experiencing a spike in cases, and they're experiencing a, quote, unusual increase due to the impacts of Hurricane Helene. That makes you wonder, did they do this on purpose, or was just this a coincidence? I mean, you tell us, because we have a whole lot of questions. Like, now we got flesh-eating bacteria being the aftermath of hurricanes now?
Were the GMO mosquitoes not enough? Jeez, I don't get it.
And apparently there's a total of 74 cases that have been reported this year alone in the state. 13 people have died. RIP to those people. That's unfortunate. Yes, and that's compared to 46 cases and 11 deaths reported last year, which leads me to say shit's getting worse with these hurricanes. And I feel like, it's going to get to the point where I truly believe this, and probably in about a 5-year window, maybe sooner than that, Florida's going to be underwater. California might be underwater. I've been thinking
California for years and years, though, because they're like right there, and those plates, like if the tectonic plates keep shifting, then there's like a chance that they could be completely underwater. But I mean, they've been saying that since the 90s, though. I think they're trying to. I think that they're really, because like you guys forget, we were supposed to have a severe hurricane here in Corpus Christi. We were supposed to.
We got so lucky with so many hurricanes missing us. It's not even funny.
I give all credit to God. I give all credit and glory to the Lord, because his children that pray, and I mean like prayer warriors, like praying day and night, praying against the weather, all this stuff. Like, I am a firm believer, because I've seen it. Like, my church did a 3-day prayer and fasting before this hurricane, and it was set to, like, we were supposed to be destroyed just like Rockport. Like, we were set. That is what every single news station and meteorologist, and even, what is his name? Alan Holt.
Alan Holt.
Yeah. Even he was evacuating his family and his wife. So it's like, when Alan Holt thinks that a hurricane is coming towards us,
it's a sign.
It's pretty serious. Like, that's, but I think that was all.
Shout out to Alan Holt, by the way. He's the
good one.
He's the OG weatherman here in the coastal Bend, Corpus Christi, Texas.
I remember his updates with, what was it, Harvey?
Yeah.
He was like hour by hour,
minute by minute.
He was doing great things. So that's why I'm saying, like, that was all God that it missed us. But that jumps into a few things, like as far as like port cities.
Yeah.
That agenda that we were talking about on last episode. There's a theory out there that in order to control all of our input and exporting and importing, things like that, kind of to control the economy, our ports have to be controlled, or if they're destroyed, then we don't really have that. And so Texas was what did our governor sign recently that kind of pissed off the president? It had to do with immigration.
Yeah, I forgot what
he basically closed the borders, like he shut it down.
Yeah.
And obviously that doesn't please the high lords of the government. That's not good for business, right? Because unaccompanied minors, all the other stuff, all their free voters without voter ID. There's so much that we could talk about in just that alone, but it all goes back to him signing that and shutting everything down. All of a sudden, we get this crazy hurricane that's supposed to destroy our port. Florida gets a crazy hurricane, even with the lithium mines in North Carolina.
That's a whole nother thing.
There's just so much. But that I've been reading different things about them trying to control our ports, and if they can, what it would benefit them. Then we, the American people, would really be at the beckon of the government. We would be completely relying on our government, which is seemingly what they want. So it is to be, it's up to you guys to ultimately formulate your own hypothesis and make your own determinations of what you think is real and true and not true. But all we can really do is go off the facts and
debunk all the theories and the lies and the downright stupidity.
It's so hard because there's so much of it.
And you want to know
much of it.
And you want to know what's a bunch of like downright stupidity? I mean, we alluded to this. We warned you that this was coming. I mean, do you hear about the latest that's going on with Diddy, man? I'm just like,
that guy.
Yeah, like there is so much that has been unfolding within itself. For those who haven't been paying attention to this, just to kind of bring you up to speed a little bit. Yeah. I saw a video about this the other day. I think it was like scrolling on TikTok. Basically, this guy put it perfectly. Diddy is what people thought Suge Knight was. And who would have thought that Suge Knight would be the complete opposite? Because for all of those who are not wondering what's going on with Diddy, and this is just to run through it rather quickly because I can spend a whole hour just talking about this. Basically, Diddy is facing sex trafficking and racketeering charges. Federal prosecutors allege that Sean P Diddy Combs, right? He threatened, abused, coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, forced victims into engaging in recorded sexual activity, which he referred to as freak-offs. There's a reason why the Kim Porter tell-all book got removed from Amazon back on October the 3rd, because
she told it all.
She told it all, literally.
She spilled the beans.
She spilled the beans and then some, because it
makes her death look a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
And don't get me started on the whole connection with the whole Michael Jackson thing, because even when they were interviewing Diddy about Michael Jackson, Kim just looked away and did the whole eyebrow thing to where it's like, yeah, you believe that shit if you want to. But anyways, that's a whole nother thing. But to stay on course, there's been 100 people filing civil lawsuits for, ironically enough, sexual harassment, sexual assault. He obviously is in jail right now. He's been denied bail twice, trying to work on a third time. I don't think it's going to happen. But apparently there's a new judge being seated.
Of course there's a new judge being put in.
Yeah, I wonder.
Right in the middle. This is just... this smells fishier than what's fishy.
This is almost as bad as the Jeffrey Epstein thing, but that's a whole nother thing. But
I would definitely say he's definitely on the same level as Jeffrey Epstein.
Honestly,
I would think he is.
I think he's worse, because
they were both pretty bad.
Yeah, because people don't realize all the stuff. If you go on to TikTok. I mean, Kim, you sent me this video, and I was showing Emily this last Friday. As far as there's this girl who breaks down the whole entire Kim Porter book on TikTok. She actually has the actual copy, not the fake copies that you see online. Like she's literally reading the book and describing it by verbatim.
Oh yeah, the Kim Porter's book.
Yes, and there was so many things that pissed me off when I was listening to it. Like, let's see, like the whole quote unquote East Coast West Coast war. That's a facade, and I already knew it was a facade. And it was, people were trying to make it seem like it was Biggie versus Tupac. Wrong. It was Tupac versus Diddy the whole time. That's a whole nother thing. And let's just say,
wasn't she sleeping with him?
Yeah, Kim Porter was literally, Kim Porter and Diddy would basically be having threesomes with basically all your favorite stars from the 90s.
Oh, yeah. People don't want to hear it when I say your favorite rappers are gay, your favorite basketball players, football players, like all these famous people. There's a very, very select few that turn down going to these parties, which we're going to go ahead and just say that.
Let's just say
we're gonna say who didn't go to the party.
I could tell you right now.
Drake definitely went.
Well, I can tell you right now. Drake, Diddy, Drake, Beyonce, Jay-Z. I mean, as much as I love them, and now I'm about to really question him more than ever. LeBron. Yeah. For sure. Basically what we're trying to get at is every famous athlete, every famous musician, every famous politician has at one point went to a Diddy party. Whether
the Obamas went to a function of Diddy's. Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's not already suspicious enough that they ordered $65,000 worth of hot dogs.
Yeah, and then
you fill in the blanks.
And then the baby oil and all this.
Did you see the deep dive about baby oil?
Yeah, I mean,
there's so much.
I don't think it was really baby oil. It was really, I think it was Gene Deal. He was. Y'all need to look up Gene Deal. He's like one of like Diddy's like most trusted, was one of his most trusted bodyguards. He has been spilling the secrets about Diddy for years, and honestly. Not only Gene Deal, but Jaguar, right?
Oh, they tried to make her look crazy forever ago, and now you hear why.
And then you wonder why Jay-Z and Beyonce's legal team had to call up Piers Morgan after the way that she basically exposed them on a major news network and was like, "Yeah, these aren't the people you think it is." Why else are they trying to go after her and tell her, hey, you better take that video down? I mean, and all this stuff, because she knows. Hey,
Don't forget to thank Beyonce.
Yes, like that J. Cole song that's been viral lately. She knows, and if you really break it down, Sean knows. Maybe J. Cole knew something way back when that we should have been paying attention to a long time ago. But
I mean, I love J. Cole, and from listening to his first album to once you get to what is the album with? It's the
For Your Eyes Only.
No, it's before that one.
2014 Forest Hills Drive.
No, Forest Hills Drive was a classic, not that one.
Born Sinner.
Born Sinner. He lays it all out. And he pretty much says like there's a reason why
there's a reason why that song She Knows is now being taken down more so than ever, ironically enough, because J. Cole was ahead of his time, and he
really was, and he refused all of those features.
Yeah,
like Forest Hills Drive had 0 features.
Neither.
Like he had 0,
and it still went platinum. But that's a whole nother thing.
But yeah, he spilled the beans. There's a reason why he's just a regular guy that you see out in Houston, Texas.
And there's a reason why Diddy and him got into a fight, and it was ironically enough over Kendrick Lamar's Control verse, which is a whole nother thing, and kind of ties into how much
I hope Kendrick didn't go. I really hope he didn't.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But
yeah,
all I gotta say is with this whole Diddy thing, this is the thing that's really interesting. He now has a trial date set up, and it's gonna be on May the 5th, 2025. For those who are wondering, and get this. It is literally the same day as the 2025 Met Gala. Do you realize how serious things are going to be? Like
giant sacrificial ritual.
This is gonna be
same day.
This is gonna be like the biggest sacrificial ritual probably of all time in 2025. I don't think people are ready for what's to come. And all I have to say is that, hey, if we can learn anything from the whole Diddy thing, is that karma's a bitch, and it's going to come back to bite you in the ass eventually. Look at what had happened to him. He thought he was untouchable, making all these videos talking about I'm invincible, dancing around with a drink in his hand, thinking he wasn't going to be touched. Now
he was for a little while, and it's actually really sad, you know, and I'm with you. I would get pissed off too, hearing about all the things that he did to Kim Porter, and especially while she was pregnant.
Yeah.
All that stuff was just, and that's all demonic. It is all demonic. Like, you guys ever read the book or get a hold of it somehow, it's going to upset you, but it'll open your eyes. It really will.
Yeah, it's going to be it's mind blowing as far as all the stuff that's even being talked about. Like, I'm still pissed off after what I heard about certain things. Like look at it like this: we lost Biggie and Tupac over Diddy's greed, his pride, his overall. Basically, all the seven deadly sins. All the seven deadly sins. Yeah. We lost Biggie and Tupac because of Diddy basically stirring up the pot of the seven deadly sins. You want to know what's even more crazier about this? That's not even the craziest thing that has even going on, because if you pay attention to how the media works, they always put some story out there and they try to distract you from what's really going on. And I remember when you sent me the video on this, Kim, I remember going to sleep watching this. I want everybody to Google this. I want y'all to Google the Pact of the Future Agreement, because
the UN Agreement to Future Pact. Yes.
Yes, the UN Future Pact Agreement. This is something within itself. I mean, basically, their whole motto is that they're trying to not create. They're saying that we cannot create a future fit for their grandchildren with a system built by our grandparents. You believe that if you want to. What it really is that, you know, you heard all the rumors about the New World Order and all that stuff. This is basically the beginning stages of it, if not the finalizing stages of it, because, man, there's a reason why all the other countries around the world are trying to like get on board to try to like get this international system and international law in place. I mean,
it is disgusting. It's un-American, that's for one. I'm just going to say it. It's un-American.
And here's a good quote. I mean, the president of the General Assembly, who's trying to organize all this, they're quote unquote laying the foundations for a sustainable, just, and peaceful global order for all people and nations. Notice how they order. So yeah, that's basically, they're trying to create everything and trying to neutralize it as one. They're trying
all the world's governments into one big government.
Exactly.
One world government. It's another dollar in the Alex Jones was right jar.
Yeah.
I hate this. I hate that, like, I'm saying that now because there's at one point where I'm like, Alex Jones is so crazy. Like, I would see him on Joe Rogan, and I'm like, this guy is insane. Like, why is he losing his mind? And then all these things start coming true, like the atrazine in the water and the fluoride and all that stuff that he talked about. And then it's like, that's why he sounds crazy. Because he knows all this stuff. And he tries to it comes out as babbling to everybody, and they're like, oh, that guy's insane. That's wild. And then it's like, little by little, they're giving us breadcrumbs that it's true. And it's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
All I got to say is this. I encourage really everybody to Google this, because this,
please.
This is not
this is
good.
Our future. This is your future. It's not just our future. This is every single, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, liberal, whatever you identify as, this will impact you. Anywhere you live, this is going to impact you.
Say bye-bye to peace. Say bye-bye to security. Say bye-bye to sustainable development. Say bye-bye to climate change, digital cooperation, human rights, gender, youth, and future generations, and the transformation of this global governance. That's pretty much the Pact of the Future summed up in its entirety, because, man, oh man.
You know, people think that we abolished slavery, you know, in the 1900s. It never went anywhere. It never went anywhere. More people right now, even in America, are enslaved than in the entire Roman Empire's reign. Like we don't see it. It's and I hate to say it, most of it, more than half of it is sex slavery.
Yeah.
If that tells you anything. But slavery hasn't gone anywhere. And so now they're trying to take it from underground to above ground. And with this one world government, you and I will be slaves to the system.
Yeah.
That is what they want. That is the ultimate goal.
They're trying to put us back in balls and chains without the actual balls and chains. I mean, there's a reason why, they talk about in Revelations, the mark of the beast and the Antichrist. I mean, we talked about this in previous episodes before, like with the whole celebration that happened with the Olympics. That shit looked like it was basically almost a coming of the Antichrist to damn near.
Oh, they were foreshadowing it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's people need to like really pay attention, like literally what's going on in the world, because they're using this Diddy case to try to distract people from this Pact of the Future UN agreement, because they don't want people to know that the New World Order is about to be implemented. And then honestly, with everything that's coming up, as the election is literally right around the corner, I feel like that's when they're going to be like, surprise, hey, this is what we've been planning this whole time. We got y'all. Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. But it's really, really just sad as far as like everything that's just going on. And I feel sorry for like the future generations and stuff, because they're really trying to put this into play by at least 2030, if not sooner than that, because it's all biblical prophecies being fulfilled. This is the 7 years of tribulation still has to happen.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like honestly, Kim, this is just my intuition saying, I feel like the 7-year tribulation is going to start in 2025.
Well, the rapture has to happen. The second coming of Christ has to happen.
It's something is going to happen to where it's going to be like I was having.
But it also says we don't know the day or the time, so you could be right. It could happen. All of this could just take place in a moment.
Yeah,
a moment's notice.
It's sad, because it's like this is why we really need to like get back in tune with, as far as just like taking care of ourselves and just taking care of our overall well-being, and just we need to literally reset ourselves, because there's a great reset that is coming. Like, I feel like I've been saying this all year. I feel like 2024 is going to be like the last normal year that we have.
Normal.
And notice how I'm saying
roller coaster.
It's been a roller coaster as it is, but this is going to be the last roller coaster of normalcy we're going to have, which is why I've been doing some soul searching within myself, just, trying to get in tune with the spiritual realm, getting in tune with just my overall mental clarity and spiritual enlightenment, which is why I'm grateful that I've started just incorporating fasting into my life more so than ever, because that alone has just been such a game changer. And I feel like ever since I've been fasting, Kim, I feel like I've been more in tune with like the spiritual realm than I've ever been in tune with my whole entire life.
1000%.
And it's like, I've been telling people, as far as for those who listen to the Wellness Whisperer series on the HFWB podcast series, you need to start fasting more so than ever. And honestly, I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible when it comes to just this whole fasting ordeal. I'm not saying to jump right into a 3 to 7 day fast where you're not eating anything or drinking any water. Now, you can do that if you feel like you could handle it, but please don't do that. Start with baby steps. I've said this time and time again. Start with like time restricted eating. Start with like an intermittent fast. Start with like, just going from, 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. or something of that nature.
That's a 12-hour fast.
That's a 12-hour fast.
You're sleeping a majority of it, so it's easier. Yes.
Exactly. And then it's like, if you feel comfortable with doing a 12-hour fast, then bumping up to 16 to 16, do it in 4-hour increments, then base it off to 24 hours. Like,
right.
I told you this past weekend when Emily was sick with a stomach bug and she came down with, I don't know what she had, to be honest. I honestly think it was because of the weather change we had here with the coastal bend. Like, we had she said that she had a stomach bug, then she felt nauseous, then she had like a low grade fever of like
I know
99
two other people with the same thing, and they were nowhere near her. So whether it's the water, the weather, or
you want to know,
it is,
you want to know what saved her though, to where she didn't really take any medicine at all, because we were fasting. That was the day, ironically enough, she got sick right before we went into our usual 24, 36-hour fast we've been doing together for the last month or so. And now, sure enough, Friday morning, she wakes up perfectly back to normal, eating regular, no signs, no symptoms or anything. So basically, that is why I talk about the importance of fasting here. I mean, I'm going to bring up something.
Fasting is amazing. It's so good. It goes back to biblical times. It just resets your entire body's functioning. It resets your organs. It helps you detox all of the toxins in your body that will affect basically your overall function. It helps with inflammation, with brain fog. There's so much. Even if I've been reading studies where it has anti-parasitic effect, because the parasites don't like when you're not feeding them their sugar. So there's so many benefits of fasting,
and it adds years to your life versus taking away. Some studies suggest that fasting may increase lifespan by improving overall cellular health. I personally do it, and this is my favorite one, and we've talked about this before, Kim. It's good for your brain. That way you could use your brain, the cognitive function. Fasting enhances that cognitive function, and it protects against degenerative diseases, neurogenesis. It promotes the growth of new neurons, which enhances your brain function. It literally increases the level of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, for those who like acronyms, which supports brain health. Oh, and did I mention that fasting is also good for your heart? It starts from the heart, right? Because it basically can improve risk factors related to heart disease, blood pressure, cholesterol levels, triglycerides. I mean, I can go on and on and on.
There have been studies that show that it can actually kill off the cancerous cells and keep them from replicating. So it can actually help you prevent. And that's extreme cases, though. That's like if you're doing 7-day water fast. That was what the study that I looked at showed, like a 30% reduction in your chance for getting cancer, especially breast cancer for women. So just doing and that seems like a lot, 7-day water fast. But once you do your first 24 hours, it's such a huge sense of accomplishment. It really then you can go to that, 36 hours, and then you go to 48 hours. And it's like after you get past that second day, I feel like I'm not even hungry anymore.
Yeah, that second day is the killer. Whenever it's like, if you can get past that second day, the rest will be like,
the rest is cake. Your bloating just disappears. And don't think like, oh, I'm gonna die. What do you want me to die? Like, we have fat reserves. More so women, we have more body fat than men. That's just naturally obvious reasons. But I do want to show this. So this is a packet that I'm actually drinking right now. It says Hydrate 1. I drink these every day, especially whenever I'm fasting. So right now I'm in the middle of one. So I have this full of spring water, which you talked about the benefits of spring water last time, which you have yours right there too. So just one of these packets can actually go into your bottle. This is, anybody heard of LMNT, right? Or Element, the hydration salt packets. So this is basically like similar to that, but I prefer this not just because Rock's Discount Vitamins carries it, but this has more magnesium in it, and our bodies, good for sleep. Yes, it's good for sleep. There's so many different types of magnesium, but it's really good because like whenever you cry or you're sweating, it's salty, right?
Yes,
you're depleting your salt. So these salt packets, they're not refined table salt that are going to make you sick. This is minerals. It's the sodium, it's magnesium, it's potassium. These are the minerals that you want to replenish. So I will, and we've talked about this before, I will say you need a good replenishing mineral replacement for your regimen. If you do decide to fast, drinking just plain water, it's going to deplete you. It's going to dehydrate you. You're just going to be peeing all day long. Trust me, I've done this. I've learned it the hard way, especially when I'm cutting weight. People think that you have to drink distilled water to cut weight. That's not true. I was slamming water bottles of spring water, literally slamming bottles every 30 minutes. And I lost 4 pounds in a couple of hours. So Hydrate One over at Rock's Discount Vitamins and More. Sure. And you can use my code Kimberly, get a little discount on me, and stay hydrated and work in your fasts, whether it's 12 hours like we talked about, or 24 hours, or even if you've done it already a couple times, you've watched our previous episodes and you kind of got brave and already started it, aim for a 7-day water fast.
That's definitely going to be a personal goal of mine, as far as just incorporating more and more longer periods of fast. As a matter of fact, I'm going to probably do a 48-hour water fast, probably starting tomorrow myself. Nice. To where I'm going to be incorporating that. And while all of y'all people are poisoning yourselves with sugar during sugar poisoning season, with holiday kicking it off, I'm going to be fasting on Halloween, and I'm going to be fasting the day afterwards. Yeah. That way I could be more in tune with God, most importantly, because there's a reason. There's a reason why it's been practiced, and there's a reason why there's, Ramadan in Islam, there's Lent in Christianity, there's Yom Kippur in Judaism, and it's like there's a reason why it's been practiced for centuries. I mean, I can go down the list of every single prophet they talk about in the Bible. All of them have one thing in common. They've incorporated some sort of fast at one point.
Fasting and prayer. It's like this. It's like macaroni.
How do you think the 10 Commandments came about?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
The 10 Commandments, most people don't understand this. And for those who need a little friendly reminder, the 10 Commandments came from Moses going up into the mountains, fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, praying to God.
Yep.
Like Kim just said, prayer and fasting goes like this. And then you want to add a little bit of sprinkling on top, throw in a little bit of meditation on top of that.
That you should be. The Bible says it, and there is a verse. I'll have to look for it. There is a verse that talks about meditating on the word. This is the word of God, y'all. This is a Bible.
Yes.
So you meditate on the word. You don't just read it, but you meditate on it. And that's what it says to do to get you. Like you say, you feel more spiritual when you're fasting.
Yes.
We all have to be careful, because in the same way that we're seeking the Lord and we can be in tune to Jesus, more so when we're fasting, the enemy still exists.
Yeah.
We still live in a spiritual world, especially right now in October, where so many people do not understand the origins of Halloween, and they open up their home to the pagan ritual. They create altars in their home.
Yeah.
People don't really, and I don't want to offend anybody when I say it, but I will speak on it because this is something that I've studied. This is something that I've known and that I've been convicted of personally. I think we talked about this. I used to decorate my house for Halloween all year round. That was my favorite holiday.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. And so once I looked into it and realized that I am raising an altar for the enemy, I am literally opening a door.
You're opening a door for BAAl.
Demonic spirits to come into my home. And I always felt like I was being watched. Have you ever felt like you're being watched?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever felt like, okay, I feel like I'm being watched, but you're home alone?
Yeah, you feel like there's like this dark spirit just like
there's
floating over
just
you.
Staring at you. People talk about the sleep paralysis demons. Like
I used to have like nightmares growing up as a kid, Kim, to where I felt like somebody was watching me. And I remember having a couple of dreams. Well, I remember having a couple of dreams to where I felt like these little demonic spirits were literally trying to suck my soul out of my body. And I'm literally like trying to like hold on for dear life. And I wasn't letting go. I wasn't giving in. And then it's like right when it was about to like snatch me and like rip me out, that's when I woke up and where I was like, what the hell just happened? So that's a real thing. I mean,
it is. And that is something that I am going to give warning. So since we're talking about fasting, be warned that when you do start fasting, and this is tried and true, you will have vivid dreams. God speaks to us in dreams in the same way God speaks to us in dreams. So does the enemy. Oh yeah. So that's why it's so important to pray before you go to sleep and pray protection. I like Psalm 91. That's a good prayer of protection that I like to read throughout my home. I like to just, come under that protection before bed, especially for my daughter too. Like, do not let the enemy interfere with my dreams, Lord. And we welcome every message and vision that you have. And like, trust me when I speak and I say that I've had dreams and visions. I'm like, I was in prayer, fasting, meditating on the word. Mm-hmm. Clifton is so right. You will get really in tune with not just your own body physically, but mentally and spiritually as well. You will be so in tune with yourself like never before. It brings so much clarity.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you stay in the Word of God. If you don't have a Bible, just download the BAAl app and just read like 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes is
5 minutes of just reading the Bible. You literally can get through like 3 chapters in a matter of 5 minutes if you're really just reading it and focusing in on it. Because the problem with a lot of y'all people right now, y'all are falling victim to all of these false gods, false prophets, aka celebrities. And I'm not trying to diss every single celebrity, because some of them are actually really good people, but 9 times out of 10, most of them are almost in reference to BAAl, as they talk about in the Bible. What do you think? Right. Why do you think the Israelites kept turning away from God all the time, going all the way back to, I don't know, Exodus, Leviticus?
They kept falling.
Deuteronomy. If you really go back into the Old Testament, the Israelites kept falling victim to this same old trap, as far as just, BAAl and of course being like, the principal god and goddesses and all that, and respectively of the Canaanite nations. And it's like they kept on getting energized by these demonic spirits, and they claim to have evolved out of their primal watery chaos, which we all know is complete BS. And ironically enough, there was just like, so they were literally like doing all these rituals, all these sacrifices and all this stuff. And then you wonder where all this paganism even started. And then you wonder how it feeds into, stuff like, child sacrifice, Planned Parenthood.
Oh my gosh.
All of these things.
Sanger, let's talk about her.
Yes.
Let's talk about that racist woman that hated Black people.
Yeah.
And she is the mother of Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize. I'm going to read y'all the mantra for Planned Parenthood, just for those, that way they can get a little bit of concept, because I kind of researched this myself. It basically is saying, give up your child to the abortion goddess and you will be blessed. You will be free to enjoy life. You will have more money to spend on yourself. You will not be cursed with a child. That sounds like some like
demonic propaganda.
That's a demonic propaganda that you would probably see them doing like at that one place. I forget what the name of it is, where they have the big old owl and stuff.
Oh, Bohemian Grove.
That sounds like some shit you would see at Bohemian Grove. Funny. That sounds like something you would see at like secret society type of parties, where they like to drink blood and turn themselves into fucking lizards and all this.
So is that the real, like, from the website, or is that like what it was founded on?
This is what it was founded on, and all this stuff. The lamination return of Planned Parenthood to Lancaster County represents the advance of pagan nationalism and the millennia-old practice of sacrificing children to narcissistic gain.
Right.
They literally are practicing this to this very day. Why do you think, Can
I play something for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, play something, please.
Sanger opened the first birth control clinic in the United States back in 1916. Birth control was a dirty word.
I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.
When Mrs. Margaret Sanger
and that was Margaret Sanger.
Yeah.
Look at this quote. I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. Hillary Clinton.
Oh, Jesus.
And so she basically, this is going to stream on X on October 22nd for those of you that have an X account. October 22nd. It's called Project 1916. It's a documentary that exposes the history behind Planned Parenthood and its very racist roots, along with demonic paganism. So if you heard what she said, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world. A quote from Margaret Sanger, who is basically the mother of Planned Parenthood. And so she is the one that said, let's put them in Black communities. Because if you look at all the Planned Parenthoods, when they first were opening them up, those were primarily minority neighborhoods with Black people. And she would put them right in the center because, they're going to grow up to be, inmates in prison. They're not going to be anything in society, and they're just going to be a menace. And it's like, tell us how you really feel, Margaret.
Oh, yeah.
And so if she's going to sacrifice children to BAAl, that's her baby of choice. But it's
sad that we're in the year 2024 and BAAl is just available in different forms, and people aren't even realizing it in the forms of these false idols, false prophets, all of these things. If you really open your eyes and look beyond like the physical realm and you dive into the spiritual realm, you could realize that BAAl is everywhere, and it's just punishment more so than anything. And it's like people are being like crucified and punished more so than ever. And it's like,
once you actually know how an abortion occurs, it's so inhumane. I've seen a video of it that just brought me to tears, and it made me cry. And I'm not shaming anybody, because I have friends that have had abortions. Like, I know people in my life that I love that have had abortions, and whether they were teenagers or older, it's something that happens, unfortunately, and it's something that's widely accepted. So I don't carry judgment for anybody that does it. However, I will say this: those that choose to use it as a form of birth control disgust me. Those that have the option to be on birth control but don't, like, have you seen that video of that one girl that was like, I love killing babies. I love getting abortions. I love killing babies. That to me was a demon manifesting. Like, and she was a pretty girl too.
And it's so funny how you bring up like Plan B and everything, because even the FDA knows the truth behind the matter of it. This is quote unquote verbatim from the FDA. If fertilization does occur, Plan B may prevent a fertilized egg from attaching to the womb. In other words, Plan B, the most infamous morning after pill, can cause the abortion of a human life.
Wow. See, I didn't even know that that's how it worked.
See, and
it makes you wonder.
For all you women out there who want to be on them Plan B pills, be careful what you wish for, because you're damn near basically setting the stages for abortion, which we've talked about in previous episodes, and that is basically child sacrifice. And then it's like you're feeding into the demonic paganism right there before your eyes, which is why Kim and I always say this all the time. We need to get back to Jesus.
Yep.
We need Jesus in our life.
Jesus so much. And I've had someone tell me that, like, they thought they were insulting me, and she was like, you need God. And I'm like, you're right, I do. Every single day of my life, I need him. And that's just the truth. Like, I don't care how close I get to him, I'm always going to want to be closer. I'm always going to have room for improvement. There will never be a day in my life where I'm going to say, I'm good. I think I have enough of Jesus. I don't need him anymore. And there will never be a day. And
I figured, since we're getting on this spiritual conversation and stuff, and you kind of pointed this out to me in the last episode we did, be careful about associating Jesus with the cross. And I know this is going to probably come off as the most controversial thing we're going to talk about, but this needs to be said. Basically, let's separate the two first and foremost. Let's put Jesus over here. Let's put the cross over here. Here's the truth of basically what the cross really is. It's basically a form of capital punishment, which at the same time, and I
considered the worst form of punishment.
Yes, I did some research extensively on this after you brought this to my attention, Kim. And it's like, here's based off the research I did. Crucifixion had become an established form of execution in the Roman Empire long before Jesus's birth. So basically, before Jesus even existed, they have been doing crucifixion. So for all y'all people. For all the people who want to try to associate Jesus with the cross, you better do your research on this, because I'm telling you.
And now he did die on the cross.
We're not
denying that at all.
We're not denying that, but we're just basically saying that crucifixion has been around long before. And it's like the famous example is Spartacus, says Professor Mary Beard, referring to the Roman slave and gladiator who died in 71 BC after leading a slave revolt, where when Crocus finishes off the slave rebellion, he lines the Appian Way with crucifixions. She says, it is estimated that 6,000 of Spartacus' followers were killed in this way. And if you go down the list off of just all the research,
there's a lot of it. Yeah.
And just to kind of summarize it here, just even a little bit within itself, there's even been a sign to where it's like it's taking place as late as, just recently, as a matter of fact. I'm trying to find it here.
It's a very barbaric form of death. Like it was supposed to be one of the worst forms. So back in the day, like they didn't have the electric chair, they had crucifixion.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did.
Like, just picture this, like, yes, we're aware that, Jesus died on a cross, and rightfully so, but let's just take the cross out of the picture again. Let's just say, for instance, if Jesus was, killed by being hung on a tree, guess what we would be doing right now? We'd be wearing little trees on our neck. Hence, or if they had guns and they shot him at the time, that we would all be wearing little gold guns around our neck. Or let's just even make it even. And funny how you bring up the electric chair. Let's just say he was, quote unquote, crucified in an electric chair. We would all be kneeling to that same chair with Jesus still in it. My point is that crucifixion and Jesus separate them completely, because it's been around before Jesus and it's going to continue to be around after Jesus. As a matter of fact, it even goes back to World War II. This is something I found out was pretty interesting, Kim. There were cases where Japanese soldiers crucified people in World War II. Australian prisoners of war working on the Thailand-Burma Railway who were sentenced to death for killing cattle, which is just interesting within itself, bound to a tree. Only one of them survived. Herbert James Ringer Edwards, who became the inspiration for the character Joe Harmon in Neville Shute's novel A Town Like Alice. Today, a punishment referred to as crucifixion, it technically can still be imposed in courts in Saudi Arabia. I bet y'all didn't know that, didn't you? Now,
awful. I couldn't even imagine.
Crucifixions take place after the beheading, says Amnesty International, which campaigns against all forms of capital punishment. The body with the separated head sewn back on is hung from or against a pole in public to act as a deterrent. The pole is sometimes, but not always, shaped in the form of a cross. This is from an article from BBC News Magazine in May the 8th, 2014. You could literally look this up, because that's just a snippet of basically what I read, because it's a whole lot of things. And oh yeah, I want to touch on this part as far as, the the Latin word. People don't even know the Latin word cruce, which is generally translated as cross, originally had a less specific meaning, referred to any object on which victims were impaled or hanged. My point is this. We need to like stop combining, Jesus and the cross together. We need to separate them more so than anything, because the cross represents capital punishment in the most cruelest way. And, I don't think Jesus would want us to suffer in the most cruelest way possible in that regard. Like, what do you think about all this, Kim? Because this is... I
definitely agree that we should not worship the tool of death.
Yeah.
Because I get what you're saying. Like, don't worship the tool of death. Like, if I said this to you last time, if he were, if he was beheaded, we wouldn't worship a guillotine, or we wouldn't wear a guillotine around our necks. Mm-hmm. But it's the same thing as it goes to Catholicism. Mm-hmm. The second commandment that talks about not having any false idols.
Yes.
One of the first commandments was like, do not have any false gods before me, or
BAAl, say bye-bye to BAAl, right?
Or any idols, right? So the crucifix, I don't I don't pray to that. I don't pray to anything but Jesus Christ. And so while I understand where you're saying don't worship the tool.
Yeah.
But he did die on a cross. He did suffer immensely for you and me. He suffered so that he could relate to our pain and that we could have some sort of relationship with him. This had to happen because Adam and Eve failed.
Yeah.
Like you said, way back when in Israel, all of God's children kept getting distracted and falling back into these false gods and worshiping them and pissing off God, essentially.
They forgot about what the sacrifice of death really means, because here's an interesting Sumerian proverb that I found while I was researching all this. And I'm going to repeat this twice. What has been destroyed belongs to a God. No one is able to take it away. Let me say that again for the people in the back. What has been destroyed belongs to a God. No one is able to take it away. Because most people don't understand this when they really look back into it. Like the Jewish religion is basically, it's been full of animal sacrifices. They've been doing that since like Genesis and Exodus. If you really read the Old Testament, and
God used to require a blood sacrifice.
Yeah.
But until Jesus Christ, he became,
and that's what I was exactly about to get to. As a matter of fact, Kim, essential act was not merely killing of an animal, but the offering of its blood upon the altar by an ordained priest. In this way, the animal was offered to God. Christians believe Jesus is our priest, and that while he was slain by the hands of other men, it was by offering his own blood on the altar of the cross that he gave God an act of pure saving worship. What Kim and I are basically trying to say is Jesus gave up everything to God on the cross.
Right.
And basically, he accepted the abandonment of his friends, the stripping of his possessions, the defamation of his good name, and the loss of his very life.
He allowed that to happen.
And in doing so, he showed us that he held nothing back in order to save us, as Kim just mentioned right now. And at the same time, this is the kicker where people forget about this. He taught us to hold nothing back from God, but to offer ourselves wholly. Jesus showed that suffering is part of the story. It's not the end. It's just part of the story.
Right.
We all have to go through tribulations. We all have to go through trials. We all have to go through days of uncertainty, chaos, and turmoil. But at the end of the day, Jesus shows us that suffering is part of the story. There's a reason.
Yeah. There's many verses that talk about Christians and long suffering.
There's a reason why, even in the Buddha religion, they believe that suffering is basically temporary. It's not that
that's a fact of life. Yeah,
that's a fact of
It's even like when I was giving birth, TMI. But when I was in labor, I did it drug free. I had no epidural. I did that naturally.
Yes.
And let me tell you, it was painful. But I knew in my head, this is temporary. And I kept telling myself, this is temporary. The pain is temporary. It's all going to be worth it. And that is like the mantra that God has given me.
Yes.
This is temporary. Yeah. Your reward is eternal. You follow me. And so, which that leads me to my verse of the day, which is Matthew chapter 16, verse 24. Then Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. That to me is like, all right, take up your cross and don't worship your cross. Take it up and carry it the way Jesus did, because Jesus had to carry his cross.
Yeah, it showed why he was a man fully alive, a man fully devoted, full of truth and love, having given up his life for others, which is basically, as Kim alluded to, becomes the foundation of life for all of us. And at the same time, evil doesn't have the last word, because suffering is more than evil. It is what the soul does when it confronts evil, wrestles with it in order to defeat it. It's basically, to kind of sum up everything that Kim and I are talking about before we go into another segment about this, because we could talk about this all day, all night. Self-sacrificing love through honest teaching is basically what Jesus is basically trying to show us or was trying to show us and is still trying to show us from a spiritual realm to this very day in 2024 and beyond. It's because we just got to tap into it at this point more so than ever. We got to tap into the power of love, the power of spirit, and the power of frequency. It's like I say,
Holy Spirit. Yeah.
I say basically, I've been telling people this more so than ever. God is three things. God is love, God is spirit, and God is frequency. Once you figure that out and realize they come together like this, man, the limit.
God is the father of love, just as it's funny because people are like, oh, God is such a wrathful God. Did you read the Old Testament? Yeah, he was. But he became a merciful God once his son was born. Once
Jesus came into the picture. And it's like,
that is literally what he tells us to do, is to love one another and to love our brothers. But he also does say to judge righteously and to hate evil. So although God does, he is the Father, he does want us to love one another. That is the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and we don't worship anybody else but him. He is where everything begins and ends. He's the Alpha and the Omega.
Yes,
and
yes.
This right here is your manual. As you said, Jesus is still trying to teach us that. He left us instruction. So stay in tune with that.
And if anything, if y'all need a little bit of hope and a little bit of inspiration, which kind of ties into my Bible verse as we close things out, I've got this from, you got to love King David, right? And his prayer, praise and everything. And this is just a piece of it. And this is from the first book of Chronicles, chapter 29, verse 13 through 15, where he says, "Oh, our God, we thank you and praise your glorious name. But who am I and who are my people that we could give anything to you? Everything we have has come from you, and we give you only what you first gave us. We are here for only a moment, visitors and strangers in the land as our ancestors were before us. Our days on earth are like a passing shadow, gone so soon without a trace." And as Kim just touched on, everything that we're dealing with right now, this is temporary. I always say this all the time, Kim. I tell people this all the time. It starts with God and it ends with God.
That's right.
Everything else is in between. So make every single day on this earth worthwhile, because it's going to be gone sooner than you think. And it's going to be gone like that without a trace.
Tell someone you love them today. And just take a shot, right? Like if you see an opportunity, don't let it pass you by.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Reach for it. Please,
by all means, because at the end of the day, as I just alluded to, everything that we have, the good, the bad, the ugly, you could say it comes from God for a particular reason, because it's all about the trials. It's all about the tribulations and seeing how we can grow through what we go through, how we can continue to find room for improvement. And at the same time, it's all evolution from a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual standpoint. That's the only way we're going to evolve and adapt and get closer to God and get more in tune within ourselves, because that way we can become one. Because that's pretty much all it really is. And honestly, I feel like that's what's going to be needed more so than ever. That way we can overcome all of these false prophets, all of these false idols, all of these false gods, all of this stuff that's going on in the media, with the whole Diddy scandal, all this stuff and all the stuff with the wars and everything. We need to come back to the source more so than ever. So as a matter of fact, Kim and I are issuing you this challenge as we get ready to close out the final quarter of 2024 and 2025. Download the Holy Bible app and read the whole entire Bible from start to finish. I'm currently doing that myself for the very first time. Better late than never. I mean, if I can do it, so can you. Yeah. Kim did it already, and she's inspiring me to do it. So what does that tell you? It's not too late to come back to the source.
And the second time around, I'm not even doing it start to finish. Now I'm like I'm reading the Gospels first, and I'm getting to know Jesus more through Matthew, Mark. I started with James, jump to Matthew, go to Luke, go back to Mark. Like, you just get in the Word of God, which I think it's so awesome that you're doing it from start to finish. Like, that's so awesome when you say that. I'm glad that you are. And I just want to throw one more thing out there. Jeremiah 29:13, and you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. Proverbs 8:17, I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently will find me. There's so many scriptures. I could keep going, but I'm just going to end it there. There's so many scriptures where the Lord says, seek me and you will find me. Draw near to me and I will draw near to you. So what you're doing is just awesome, because you're seeking him out, and you're going to find him if you just do that.
We're seeking out the truth on a regular basis, and that's why we encourage you to continue to seek out the truth by doing your research, fact-checking things, asking questions, searching for those answers, because we don't have all the answers. We don't even have all the questions of those answers.
Why we're researching so much.
Treat the world as your library. When you look at it from that perspective, you never know what you could find out, more so than anything, which is why.
And I forgot. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
going to jump in. The Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime or Prime Video, check out the movie Nefarious. Especially scary movies are not my thing, but if it's your thing, you might like it because it's kind of spooky. But anyways, just check out the movie Nefarious. It'll kind of touch base on a lot of the things that we're talking about, and we were discussing this before we started recording. But yeah, check it out. Leave a comment, message us, tell us what you think about it, and anything else that you want to talk about or any questions,
leave a review, leave comments below, because again, like me and Kim, like I said in the beginning, Kim and I, we're doing this for you, the people who are watching, wherever you may be, however you may be listening, and at the same time, hit that follow and subscribe button on Spotify podcast. That way we can continue to grow one day at a time, one step at a time. Download, share, stream, and please share this to as many people as possible. We want to hear from you, the people, because this is what we do it for. But I think we gave enough reason, Kim, for them to appreciate episode number 8. Yeah. So until the next time, keep on seeking the truth and debunking the myths, lies, and the downright stupidity, because it's all about this, truth versus lies, real versus fake, good versus evil. Which side are you on? Until next time, we'll let you marinate on that, and we'll keep on asking you until you figure it out. Peace.
Have a good day.